Friends and family, welcome to another live broadcast brought to you by Premier's Turning Point, with your host, Bishop Dr. Yutin Lay. We pray and hope that something that is being said today will bless your soul and spirit. Please take a quick moment to like and share this broadcast with your friends and family. Thank you again for joining us. Let's go into our live program.
Blessings, and good day, one and all. Bishop Dr. Yutan Lang, we're coming back to you another episode of Premier's Turning Point. And this evening, we're just more than happy that we're going to have a couple of our parents on. We're going to be talking mainly about the COVID pandemic and how it's affecting our children, and they're going back to school and the family lives and all of those issues. And we pray as we speak today, the blessings of God will be with us. And we pray that everybody will get the needed information that they need to get them, on par with all the latest things. And also we hopefully be able to address any of the issues with people, kind of getting stressed out over this old pandemic. And so this is really what we're about. So we're going to start off. We have three of our parents on to this evening, and we're going to start. We're just going to go around the room. We're going to start with Sister Sharika. Then we have Sister Zadie and Sister Daniel, and they're going to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about their family, and then we're going to proceed. So we're going to start with Sister Sharika.
She's
We'll
muted.
we'll probably go to Sister Zadia. Then somebody can reach out to Sister Sharika and get her unmuted. Zadie,
Okay.
go ahead.
All right. Well, my name is Zadia Lang. If you don't know, Bishop Lang is my father. I'm a single mom. I have one son. He is 9 and he will be 10 later this year. He's going into 4th grade. Professionally, I work at SHI International in Somerset. I'm a returns support coordinator. I'm the team lead, actually. And I'm also a life insurance agent with Primerica. What else you need to know about me? I don't know. But I go to Premier Family Life Ministries, as do these other mothers that are here with us today. And I'm happy to be here.
All right. We have Sister Sharika. We have you yet? Okay, say something. I think
Yes,
you're
I'm
muted.
here. I'm here.
Okay, go
You
ahead,
hear me
Sister
now?
Sharika.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go
Yeah,
ahead
so
now.
my name is Sharika. I have 3 children. Their ages are 20, 21 months. Zion, he's 21 months old. Then there's Skyline, she's 6 years old, and Sasha K, she's 7 years old. Professionally, I work at Yahoo Social Services as the senior administrator. I work on policies and procedures for opening up day rehabilitation centers, and I also am senior marketing specialist, and I also do some support coordination as well. I'm presently pursuing my master's degree, my executive MBA at John Welch Management Institute. And that's
All
about me.
right. All right. Then we have Sister Danielle.
Hi, good evening. Um, Danielle Stanley. I'm the site manager for McKinley School in New Brunswick. I have 5 children. Only have one actually in the school system at this particular point. But at my job at McKinley, we are there to service the children through the youth partnership program. Um, so we're there to make sure that the kids are taken care of. School-based actually are there to make sure the kids are taken care of through their social, emotional needs, case management, anything the parents might need to be able to go forward. We assist them from basically from kindergarten all the way to the senior year, making sure they get out of school and have all support that they need for them to be able to thrive and be successful in life.
Amen. All right. So we see we have parents from all over the gamut this evening. And I know right now we are very concerned about school reopening sometime next month and how that's going to affect our parents, our students. And so we got to again go around the room trying to see what so far are you expecting? Did your school reach out to you? And then, what did they propose so far? And what are your concerns or your plan? And we're going to start with Sister Zadie on this one again, just to let us know, and then we'll go around the room. Okay?
All right. Well, my son's school, they first reached out earlier this summer, maybe like June, July, for us to come in and, we usually each year you have to re-register and make sure that you're a resident of the town and all that stuff that they normally do in person. So because of the COVID times, they decided that we can send our documents, we can fax them or email them to them instead. Which my mom thought was funny because she's like, so then why do we have to go there all the time if they could do this electronically the whole time? But they still said even if we do that, we still have to later come in and do it in person anyway, but they haven't said when that will be. Then later in July, early August, they said that they were going to give us a choice for when school opens if we would choose for our child to come back 100% virtual, which would be a full normal school day hour of live streamed kind of classes for them. So instead of what they did when COVID first started, it was kind of they gave them work to do, but they could do it at their own pace, and it wasn't necessarily as structured. I think I prefer this a little better, so that it's like the whole day. They would start the day at the same time they normally would if they were in the building, and they would end the day at the same time they normally would as well. That was the first option, or you could do a hybrid where it's every other day you're in school or you're at home virtual. So I went with the 100% virtual because I don't feel like it's safe for my child to go to school right now. I have to remind him to wash his hands all the time, so I can only imagine the things that he could pick up if he went to school. And it's funny because he has allergies and usually he has sniffles all the time. But lately, since he's been home, I haven't really seen him sniffling much at all. He hasn't barely even had to use his allergy medicine. And it's so crazy. I'm like, so now imagine if just those little things would affect him when he was in school. If I sent him back now, what could possibly happen? So I didn't feel safe choosing the hybrid option. And now, just a couple days ago, since I think Governor Murphy changed the plan, what they're doing for New Jersey schools, now they said there's going to be definitely all virtual for all students until at least the end of the first marking period. And then they said they were going to revisit it and see, if it's safe for them to try that option again for the hybrid. But personally, I'm going to keep choosing the 100% virtual as long as it's there because I want to make sure it's safe for him. So I wouldn't feel comfortable sending him back until there's at least maybe an effective vaccine or something along those lines, or something that would ensure me that he wouldn't go out and get sick or bring something back home to make someone in our home sick. So that's how I feel about it.
All right. And Sister Sharika, what's up with your school system right now? Okay, we got you muted again. All right.
So it is, I'm sorry about that. I muted so you don't hear the background noise, but it
Yeah,
is
okay.
quite similar to Zadia's school system, where there was two offerings in late July, which was either virtual or hybrid. And they gave us a list of questions that we had to answer to what we would prefer, what we would like to see the children get on the school buses, and whatever those choices were, they were supposed to be put in place, and then we had to keep it that way even when the school started in September. And when I had to choose, it was quite difficult. Like I felt like I couldn't make that decision on my own. So I'm like the person that asks questions, and I ask everybody what their outlook is and what they think about the situation. So I went to my extended family, my parents, and I said, what do you guys think? Should I go hybrid or should I go fully virtual? And their hands was up too. They're like, you got to use your best judgment, think about your safety as well, because I do have some health conditions, and those were some of my concerns. So at the end of the day, I did decide to go virtual. And earlier this week, I got a email from the school, like Zadia did, and before Governor Murphy put in place that everybody's going virtual, the school contacted me and told me that all the schools in the district, they were having very low numbers of parents that wanted to send their schools. 60% of the parents chose virtual, and only 40% chose hybrid. And there's one school with only 70 kids coming in, another school with 90 children coming in. And so because the numbers were so low, they were going to start combining the schools so they could actually have a work day or a school day for the children. And what's happening now is that this is also having an effect on the teachers, because if there's less kids in the school to teach, there's less teachers needed. So it's kind of having a domino effect on everything in my school district.
All righty. And Sister Danielle, how's your district?
Okay, our district is basically the same thing. Well, in the beginning of the year, there was beginning of the summer, there was a super survey came out, and they asked all the parents what would they like to do. It was basically a hybrid program, or was it going to be total virtual? For me, same thing. I chose virtual for my daughter because like I said, I mean, why put her at risk with all these kids in the school? There's no way they can go by all those mandates of how the social distancing. There's too many kids in the class. There's too many kids in the lunchroom. How are they going to do the busing? The busing is supposed to be every other every other seat. How does that work when the bus is already overcrowded from the door? So all those things I thought about it didn't make any sense. So for me, virtual was no problem because my daughter also did very well when they went out from March to June. She didn't drop her grades. Matter of fact, she excelled. Her GPA is almost a 4.0. So I had no problem with her going 100% virtual. And then for me at the job for New Brunswick, we are going to do the same thing. We're going to a partial virtual, which means we're going to the second marking period, and then they're going to see how the third and fourth are going to pan out. But at this particular point, everybody's looking for a 100% virtual year because parents they're afraid of bringing their children into the school. What's going on right now?
Yeah, and so we know that the governor actually decided that everybody is going virtual, at least for the first marking period. So that I think has taken us some of the stress and anxiety about it.
Yeah.
But one thing, well, now everybody is virtual. I know everybody's a little bit different, but what kind of stress, though, you think being totally virtual is having on our families, or anybody in particular want to speak about that? Or anybody listening to us, feel free to send in your comments and tell us whether you're virtual or not. And how do you think now in New Jersey, all virtual, what effect is that going to be having on our families, our households, and such like?
Well, you know what? Some things are a little bit difficult for some of the families, for the mere fact that some people were having difficulties just making sure that they had all their needs met, such as making sure the food and family needs. Parents had to make a decision about are they going to work or they're going to be home to make sure that they're there for their children. So there's a lot of different things that have happened. I do feel for the children who need that socialization. Because when you go virtual, I mean, you don't have anybody that's if you have no siblings in your home, it's really difficult for them to get that same sense of, around their peers. I know that the teachers they're doing their very, very best to address all those needs through, Google Hangouts and so on and so forth. I know our school, we're doing a lot of groups on Google Hangouts to make sure that the kids are getting something where they're coming together in some form of group where they can kind of like just relax. It's a lot of their emotional component, because kids do need socialization. So we need to figure out different things how we're going to do to address that ongoing. So that's what we're right now. We're at the table making a plan, a comprehensive plan, how we're going to address all these needs of these children because they're going to be great. And then what are they going to lose? Some kids are already lost because it's they left from March to June. Now coming in September, going virtual again. How do we address those needs to make sure our kids are still able to compete later on in life and do well and excel? So it's a lot of different things going on at one point that we have to think about in this particular plan ongoing.
I totally agree with that. And one thing that you said, like, for example, my son, he's the only child in a house full of adults. So for him, we've been allowing him after, like, when school was in earlier and he would I would make him make sure he did his work first, and then he would have time to like go on like Zoom and play like video games with his friends from school sometimes so that he has some type of interaction, because it's hard when he has friends who literally live 2 houses down from us and he can't go play with them anymore, and so now he's become kind of like a little inside hermit. He doesn't want to go outside anymore. He doesn't want to, it's hard on the kids too. So I totally agree with that. And I think that giving them some type of way to reach out to their friends definitely helps, for, like you said, especially for the kids who don't have siblings and who like kind of have to play with themselves. It's easier if they can at least, do a video call with their friend once in a while or so and so. So I think it definitely helps to try to find ways to make it interesting. Do things like me and my son have been, I got him into comics now. So now he wants to read comics with me and do little stuff like that. So I'll try to give him anything that can, keep him entertained so that he doesn't necessarily sit there. And now his thing is when he's bored, he just goes to sleep. I was like, well, I have nothing to do, so I'm gonna just go to sleep. And I'm like, no, because then he sleeps for like 2 hours and he won't go to bed the next night. So it's a whole thing.
Okay. Anything, Sister Sharika, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I understand what Sister Zadia was saying, and according to the CDC, they also say extended closures can be harmful to children's mental health and increase the likelihood that children engage in unhealthy behaviors. And I kind of had my eyes open for that from March, and being at home with the girls. And what I kind of had to do was really tap into some of the tools I had from a long time ago, which was based in education. I taught for about 10 years. So I had to like put on my teaching stuff on, and I had to start being even more creative than what the schools had outlined for the children to do. So they would give them little work to do, but I kind of had to extend it and make it fun. I had to start become creative with things inside the house, doing floating and sinking projects and making clouds float in bottles. So I started to become very creative with things of that sort. And even with that, I found myself observing my children closely and recognizing what behaviors I knew that were sometimes socially awkward, and just trying to encourage them to, shy away from it. Not like aggressively telling them don't do whatever, but kind of bringing to the awareness that, hey, do you notice that you're doing this? Do you notice that you're doing that? Even with having a toddler at home, I tend to give a lot of my attention to the toddler. So sometimes I do see the girls wanting more of my attention, and sometimes they kind of regress to their younger ages because they want my attention. So sometimes I even with my daughter, I'm like, listen, you're 6 years old, you're 7 years old, to remind them that they do have to stay on pace with their growth and their maturity levels. In
Yeah.
addition in addition to that, I also made a conscious effort to do activities outside the house, because even I was
Mhm.
becoming claustrophobic. Like, we're in this house, bumping into each other, dealing with this, and I know if I'm
Mhm.
getting like tired of it, they are too. So sometimes we put on our mask, and we just, even if it's just going to the little park over here, just so they
Yeah.
can walk around and just release some of the energy and release some of the stress, because kids get stressed too, and we have to keep that in mind,
Mhm.
that they could get stressed. Like you said, being bored, becoming too bored is stressful to a kid. They don't know what to do with all that energy. So I try to think about all those different things and find activities for them to do outside the house.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very, very important, I think, to keep them engaged. And and
Hmm.
think about it. Think, go for walks. We talked about that in some earlier programs. And I think one of the thing as a church we're going to do, we're going to try to get together in the park. We're working on that a couple of weekends. I mean, and then we can at least social distance, but at least see each other for a little bit, run around, in some open
Mhm.
space, get some fresh air, and that's all going to be important. Now, on one person had a comment, and this is an important thing now. And so far, all three of you are able to stay home or have somebody at home. But their question was, what about the parents who have to work and can't be home to supervise in virtual education? I'm not sure if I heard the governor made any amends for those people, but what are we going to do with those people?
Well, unfortunately, it's a shame because they're going to have to end up having somebody else to be at home with their children, or they're going to force one of the parents to have to, leave their job. It's a lot of stress on families because of this particular situation. Because if you're not economically, in a position to have one person not have bring in an income, it's going to have a domino effect to the whole entire family. But then you have to look at both sides of the fence. You put your child into school, then there's great danger there. You have your child at home on no supervision, then there's problems there. So it's so difficult right now that the parents have to play this particular game to figure out what's going to happen. It's a Russian roulette with their life and their children's life. So
Mhm.
I'm not sure. So I guess right now everybody has to sit down as a family unit and make a decision. How do we do this? How do we make this work? How do we make it work when we need a two-income household? How does it work? There's maybe no maternal or paternal parent that's around. So it's very difficult. So my heart goes out to parents who have to make that decision. What do we do? And now because of I mean everyone's basically doing virtual. Like in New Brunswick, there is 100% virtual. So it's no classes, no way. So there's no hybrid, no anything.
Mm,
So that means you are forced to come to make a decision. That comes September 1,
mhm.
there is no program. So some of the other schools still have a
Yeah.
program, they still have a bit of a choice, but that particular school district doesn't have one. So I could imagine the pressure and the fear
Wow.
and the anxiety that not only have for the parents, because anything where the parents feel, the child also feels. So we know there's going to be a lot of mental health issues. That's why one of the good things that I'm
Right.
praying that a lot of people take heed to it. People sometimes shy away from mental health, but just because it's pandemic, it's kind of pushing people to the breaking
Talk
point. So I
about it
pray that
more.
everybody has an
Mhm.
outlet to be able to do this, to
Yeah.
make a decision and be able to house their children and take care of their families and have an income and have food and the necessary things that one would need just to be able to
Yeah.
survive. So
Mhm.
it's a lot going on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May I
Yeah.
add that a lot of
Mhm.
times there's some parents that have anxiety, not only because some of them are essential workers where they have to be at that job because it's part of the whole system, a model that's saving lives. And then some parents are also have anxiety because they're not equipped with the skills to facilitate a homeschooling situation.
Mhm.
And and it's not easy. Not everyone can just say, okay, I can grab the bull by its horns and go with this full force, and they become stressed out, they feel depressed, they feel like, oh my gosh, I'm left by myself, and what do I do?
Yeah.
So I think there needs to be solutions for parents who just don't feel like they have the skill set to facilitate a homeschooling situation, even if it's for a short period of time.
Yeah, I
You're
think
right.
all of that has to be addressed, because you're headed it right. So those people who must work because they're essential, and then those who must work because they don't have any other means. And I think in the earlier part, and I have to look into the rules. In the earlier part, I know when it just started, those people they were giving people excuse to be home to stay with their
I
children
was
and to make
I
sure.
was just gonna mention
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
I think it
but I'm
was
not sure
something.
if they
It's like they
continued
they
that. Yeah.
compared it. They compared it to like the FMLA, like the Family Leave Act
Yes.
thing, but it's like a special
Yes.
one that was under the CARES Act or whatever that thing, the bill that they passed for the pandemic relief. It was part of that, but like you said, I don't know if it's still going or if they're going to extend it or exactly
Right.
what the
Yeah,
details
I
were.
think with the CARES Act now, with all of the politics and the CARES Act, really expired. It's not clear, So I think everybody,
Hmm.
the other thing that I think the parents with in a catch when to call up your congressperson, call up your mayors, call everybody up,
Hmm.
see what is it, there has to be help, and I think look at all the resources. I will also look into all of the various resources to see what's there. I think churches
Yeah.
have to even step up and where we can step in and help. I think we have to look at the needs of our people and see where we best can meet those, because it's really a stressful and a difficult time for everybody. Because it's one good and all to say, all right, now all the kids everything is going to be virtual for this first marking period, but then we have to look at all the people that are affected and how they're affected, because not everybody can be home or have somebody at home, as we heard. All right,
Hmm.
now,
But no, I'm sorry. But also
Sister
just
Daniel,
Go
go
to
ahead.
the
ahead.
point, yeah, to the point that was been made before in reference to the parents, we have sat down and thought about having parent groups, just helping them out, just having allowing parents to
Yeah.
understand that self-care is important. Take some time out, build into your schedule that you can be able to, you know, take your time,
Focus on
be
you.
able to help facilitate education, help educate your child, but at the same time, take some time out because it's stressful on everybody. So we were advocating that
Hmm.
that has to be done and put that in because once again, not only when we go virtual, we got to make sure you keep a routine. Routine is so important for these kids.
Yeah.
A lot of times, everything has
Hmm.
kind of got thrown all over the place because they didn't know what's happening. Now, because we kind of have a little taste of virtual, now the school system is able to kind of put together a comprehensive plan to be able to adjust more the needs and making sure that kids have that routine and the parents kind of know too. But like I said, there's still barriers, a lot of barriers, that
Hmm.
parents are dealing with. Some people in New Brunswick are first people coming right into the country, and that's very difficult for not able to have anybody else to kind of hold their hands. They're coming into a school system, they're coming into a community that they have never, kind of got accustomed to the community itself. And now they have to educate their children by our school, by our rules. And they've never been here. So now we're trying to address all those needs to make sure those children don't go to the wayside. So it's a lot of things that have to be taken into place However, I believe we can do it. We were able to do it before. We had a, a taste of it, but now we have to make a better plan and just make sure that we take care as parents, take care of ourselves, have some time, some downtime to be able to release. Talk to other parents. It's okay if you make mistakes. This is listen, you didn't sign up to, now you're a mom with a full-time job. You all know that. But what I'm saying, now you signed up now to be a teacher. And that's not, some people, that's not my profession. But guess what? We have to help each other to, make sure we're all we're in the same boat together, and we'll make sure everybody thrives. Help reach out
Yeah.
to one another. You see one of your, fellow parents, whatever, reach out to them and say, hey, let's talk about it. Let's find out what our difficulties are. What kind of strategy we can do to help each other to be able to give them more teaching strategies to help cope at home.
Okay.
And I just want to mention that every state has learning standards that you could find on the Department of Education website. So that could be a beginning point for the parents who don't know where to start. Is visit your Department of Education website to get the learning standards for your child at that grade level, and that could be a learning part just to help you start out the whole learning process and put you on track with what the teachers and the child's grade level is focusing on. So that's just a tip of mine, and that's something I did back in March, which I did it before, but I lost my copy, so I had to go back on there and get a copy of the Department of Education learning standards for kindergarten and first graders. And as I was going through it, I realized that there's some of the topics and the things that the children are supposed to be learning in kindergarten, it carries over into first grade, and sometimes they overlap. So, and even when I started to look at the schedule and the charts that the school set up for them to focus on their subjects on a daily basis, there were topics that my kindergarten was going over that my first grader was going over, and I was able to combine the two of them and do like a full lesson for the two children, like killing two birds with one stone. And so there are things that we can do if we take the time out to just try to help our children in this hard time. And I kind of see this as a blessing in disguise for myself, because before COVID, as much as I knew what to do with my children in terms of education, the back and forth, the stress of going to work and picking them up and doing this, I could not really sit down and focus on my children's education as much as I wanted. So we could just see this as a blessing in disguise as parents to say, you know what, let me take the time out. Let me really sit down and figure out where my child is educationally wise, and help them advance. And we could just get on board with this thing, help the teachers, work with the teachers, just be a support rather than a stressor in the situation.
Yeah, I think it's very, very important. I think I'm hearing some good things. And I think that the togetherness, we can reach out, help one another, support one another, and be there, because I think it's going to take everybody. And this is one of the reasons, I think it's so important that we talk about this, because we need to see and that's one thing. Nobody should feel like you're by yourself. Speak
Right.
up, communicate, speak out, so you know what it is that you need. I mean, I did get one comment online, somebody in Maryland saying they're 100% virtual, and they had to make the decision. One, the husband had to stay home. So whatever we need to do, we have to kind of work it out and see what's best. And as I was saying before, everybody, please reach out to your council people, your senators, because they should be making some amends and, to help out, so that if you have to stay home, you could still have some kind of an income coming. If you have to be there for the children, because it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, that, you can't just say, all right, everybody's got to go to work. What we're doing with the children. And if schools are closed, the one good thing that I think I like is, and whether the teachers have to go in or they're going to do it, they're going to have a more structured, I think some of the school systems are going to be more structured, where they're going to have the regular school day, and then they're going to have the teachers doing the instruction, virtually, but do it in the same way as it would be happening at school. That would help, I think, to keep some of the structure and keep the kids kind of more engaged, because, it's hard when you have to say, okay, this one have to do it, they just have to get this work done. But, no major structure and supervision, I think, is hard. I don't know what you guys think about that kind of structure.
They are actually putting that in place it's going to be a better program than it was before. Because, like I said, don't forget that when that shift came, teacher had to literally think all those things through and like maybe a week or two, come back to like the department heads, put some kind of plan together and roll
Exactly.
this out. And make sure that every child had a computer to take home. So everything had to be loaded on these computers. So the kids all, and then they had to make sure that the kids who did not have any kind of internet services had internet services. So a lot of things happen at a short period of time. Now, because if they did, and a lot of kids still was able to thrive, to do it, now they have more time to think about these things because in the back of everybody's mind, they knew there was probably going to be some kind of, virtual or hybrid program coming through anyway. So when they had to put it in place, it wasn't like a shock to everybody. But what they did do, they made it. They sat down, came to the table, figured out what happened because some kids were not signing on. Some kids were just lost. They just didn't sign on. It was trying to find them. It was very difficult in the beginning to go out and find. It wasn't like a kid being truant before, and the truants would come to. It was so much going on. But now they're coming to put together a program to make sure that every kid is signing on. That they're going to, and parents are making sure that there's kind of some kind of rules now, and they have to implement to make sure that they're accountable to their children's attendance. Because once again, we still got to get those days in, regardless if it's hybrid or virtual, whatever. They have to have those same days in for them to be able to meet the state to be able for graduation requirements and to move on to the next grade. They have so now when they put those plans together, they made, like I said, a more comprehensive plan to address all the needs that the kids need, all the things that they found in the last 3 months that happened from March to June, to make sure that now they don't follow the same things again from this September until whatever. Because like I said, we don't know. They say the first, second marking period, but you don't know if it's going to be 100%,
Right.
or like I said, some districts have 100% virtual for the whole year. But once again, I mean, it's going to take a lot for us to continue to do all these different things. Another aspect of it too, thank God that they are providing meals for these kids because some kids are not eating and some kids only eat in school. So I'm glad to see that. I know our district did a lot. We provide like 4,000 meals out between March and
Wow.
June in New Brunswick. 4,000 families were fed. Gambinos, a lot of restaurants came together and really, fed these families. And then we just also got people from the streets and listen, you're hungry, please take something. So we have to do those kind of things again. And pantries were, people really cantered into the point that they were seeking out, other resources because they were losing, they didn't have a lot of resources to be able to feed the demand. So we have to work together as a team for this whole thing, from academics to make sure that people are being fed, with case management needs, so many different things that's under the same umbrella that we have to make sure that we are addressing. And like I said, I thank God for the church, that we have that aspect. We have a spiritual aspect, plus we have somewhere to turn to when things are getting to be overwhelming. But at the same time, we have to strengthen our communities because they're communities where people when you have the needs. So there's a lot going on to think
It's
about.
funny. That's what I was going to mention, the Wi-Fi and the having devices before I froze. That's exactly what I was going to talk about because there's some schools that were able to help people get Wi-Fi or internet where they didn't before. There are others that couldn't do that. So they had to find a way to give like written schoolwork when it was right, when we had to switch over to that once March hit. So some of them didn't, like you said, didn't get.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure she's having some
which I
Wi-Fi.
really appreciate. And I know for my son, we definitely are trying to get him back into his schedule because he's his sleep schedule's all messed up. Like everything's all over the place. And it's like I prefer having he has to still wake up at the same time he normally would for school. I would love to have day. So like they would even like have them all have lunch at the same time. They'd give them specific break for like, okay, go like do something active for 15 minutes or something like that. It's kind of how they explain it to us how it's going to be. And I prefer that because it gives him, like you said, a schedule, a routine. So he knows, okay, I got to be up. I have to eat breakfast by 8:00 because class starts at 8:30. And it's a live stream thing fully. So they can see, okay, if the kid's not logged in, they can keep track of the attendance. They can see the kids' engagement on their faces, even though they did implement some little video things and aspects like that from earlier this past year. But I think the way they're going to be doing it in September is much more, I think, better. And it would be like more of a classroom-like feel in a sense than what they were doing before.
Now, did all of the schools make amends for the children who may not have the computers and all of that? Because I'm not sure I
Yeah.
heard much out of the Piscataway system, but I don't know
Yeah.
about the other.
Well,
Yeah.
Piscataway didn't for the end of last year, but they said that they're going to be giving, I think, iPads to students who don't have a device at home. So I think they are starting to figure that out for September because I guess they realize it's going to be longer than they probably think. So
Okay.
maybe they realized that they had a lot of students from the end of last year that had to get paper stuff because that's what they were doing for people who didn't have devices. They would have to come to, I think, the Board of Ed or their whatever the school building is. They could pick up the written form of the work because they actually, they had us give us a link so we could print it out at home for people who had printers. So they were trying to cover both bases, but now I think they're realizing if it's gonna have to be all virtual, they have to find a way for the students who didn't have a device to still be able to take part. So there's at least that's what I saw, that they're going to be trying to get iPads out to the students who don't have devices in
How
our
about the
town at
other
least.
schools? How about the
We're,
other
we're the
systems?
same. We have,
Well,
they're giving out
Sister
you
Daniel,
could go
go
ahead.
ahead, and then
okay.
Siri.
They're giving out Chromebooks. So all the kids are going to have their Chromebooks. They had given all the kids Chromebooks last year as well, and they're giving out Chromebooks again for the kids. So they'll have
Okay.
at least the tools, because otherwise, you're not going to be able to, have anything done if you don't have any necessary stuff in the computers. Not only that, but so Zadia, you're right. In New Brunswick, they were giving out, I forgot the cable company in New Brunswick, but they were giving out free internet access to some of the kids, at least for they gave a couple of months, and then they allowed them to give a plan so that way the parents can go into a plan to help the kids to go. So I think those things are still in the work. I think
Right.
the Board of Education, for at least I know New Brunswick is doing that again to make sure every child will be able to connect. But some kids were not connecting, so that's another thing too. So they're trying to take into consideration what they learned from that brief period from March to June, so that way they won't fall in the same problem when it starts in September. So those kids will be accounted for, and they're not going to lose anything. Because like I said, they weren't learning. So now they have to figure out how do they engage the kids, how are they going to get the things together, how these kids are going to be,
Yep.
how are they going to do the standardized testing, how they're going to see how these kids are going to test. So all the things like that are taken into consideration right now.
Yeah, and Sister Sharika, how about
Real
your
quick.
system?
Yeah, in
Go ahead.
West Windsor Plainsboro school district, in the beginning of March, they gave them all iPads. They gave the students iPads to keep up with the different lessons, to access all the work that the teacher wanted them to do. They also downloaded and gave us codes for so many different apps that focused on reading. And there's something called Epic and
Yeah.
Dreambox. And what are those? They're just basically uploaded. It's like a library online, and they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books that the children could read. And on the books, the books could read it out loud to the students. And as they get more accustomed to it, they don't use the read it. They can read it to themselves. So I think that was like a really cool app where all the books were being read out loud to them, and they would follow the story and understand the story, and they would go back to the same story if they enjoyed it and they found it interesting. So, there are great apps online too that can help enhance the learning experience from home.
JJ uses
All right.
Epic too. We like that one.
Yeah. And
All right.
they saw that the students were using Epic so much, they added Dreambox. I don't know if you know about Dreambox. It's something like
I've
that.
heard
There's
about it.
another one. Yeah. So there's a few that are Pebble Go.
Yeah.
There's a few. There's some good apps out there.
They
Yeah,
actually
there
like
was
our teachers in their school district. They actually use Epic like normally. Like before all this happened, they were already using that as part of their like curriculum with reading and stuff.
Right.
Because they can search like a book by the genre if they like fairy tales, if they like animals. JJ's always reading only about basketball and football. Those are the only things he reads.
Skyland is only reading about animals. She's only reading about it. She loves animals, so she'll read books
That's
about
great.
animals. And
I was like that. I loved animal books.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
But that, like you said, they've been okay.
Alrighty, we're gonna move on a little bit. So I know there was a concern online about the children with special needs, like learning difficulties
Yeah.
and ADHD, and those with the IEPs and the 504 plans. I mean, have they made any special? Anybody know of any special arrangements they've made for any of these?
Brunswick, they're still meeting with their children. They're reaching out. The workers, case managers are reaching out to the kids. I know that our mental health clinicians are reaching out to the kids, to reach out to the
Yeah.
families first, to make sure that they're all together. But they have to
Right.
continue on to make sure those plans are still in effect. So yeah, all the school
Yeah. So
districts have to.
yeah,
They're
because that's
mandated. They're mandated that they have to make sure that those plans are still in effect, and they have to take in consideration when they're making up their curriculum that they have these things in place for the kids, so that way they don't get lost. So yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because that was a concern with those people with the special
hmm
needs that they're
Yeah.
making. I know in some states they actually have school just for them.
mm
There's a couple states that did that, so they
Mm.
brought just the special needs kids back. To them is
Yeah.
much less, but and I think we just have to, again, for the families out there, just make sure you get all the information. If you have concerns, reach out to the appropriate people. Even
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
to your church your pastor, so they can speak for you. Because don't just sit there. Make sure
hmm
all your kids' needs are being met, which is probably the one thing that I can point out. And really, now, there's also a concern that we have. I don't know what you children see, but one of our observers who is a pediatrician, and many of her patients have gained substantial weight in the past 5 months.
Mm.
Second to the, so what advice she's
Oh
asking
God.
can we give for that? So you're all parents. I have my opinion, but let's hear from these mothers. What advice do you give for that?
Change the refrigerator inside.
Okay,
No,
change the
honestly,
one.
I'm
Okay.
getting ready to go old school and put all the snacks in my closet and put a lock on my closet.
Okay, that's all right.
Because
So change the refrigerator locks on the clock.
someone is like, yeah, it's like I always say to them, how did you survive during the school year? Because they give you breakfast, they give you lunch, and maybe you'll get a snack at the end of the day. But when they're
hmm
home, it's like every hour they're hungry. I'm hungry, I'm hungry, and it's they. Here are some chicken and vegetables. They're not hungry for that. They want snacks. So I am going
Mhm.
through that issue in my home,
Yeah.
and I'm making a conscious effort to figure out the last time I handed out food and wait about 4 or 5 hours before I feed them again. And I guess I kind of I kind of I'm kind of the problem with it because I'm such a nurturer that I'm always my family
Mm.
will tell you. They'd be like, Sharika, stop feeding the kids. Stop feeding the kids. But I'm like, you hungry? You hungry?
Yeah.
And and
I
it could
hmm
get worse.
understand.
It could get worse when they're home with you all day. So I'm
Well,
bad
I
with that.
can speak to that. As my dad could tell you, my son has definitely gained a little weight. The other day, I went to wake him up, and I was looking at his legs, and I was like, "When did your legs get so chubby? Like, where are you going?" And it's funny that
Yeah.
you say that because he's home. Like, I know at school, like you said, they have certain times for snack and whatever. And the
hmm
only time that Jay is not hungry is if he's playing games. He forgets about everything else. He won't have to pee,
Right.
he won't have to eat nothing. But when he's not, then it's like, okay, every 2 minutes he wants a snack, he wants a this. So what I tried doing is at least
Hmm.
switching the kind of snacks I've been buying. So I'm trying to get
Right.
more like fruits and more. I've gotten him back into he likes cereal bars and granola bars and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So he's not going all for like chips and cookies and I try at least I'll mix
Hmm.
them in like once in a while. Yeah, you can still have those, but we're going to focus more on the healthier type of snacks.
Hmm.
He loves oatmeal, so that's good. Like he likes vegetables, so that's never really a problem. That we never have a problem with him
Hmm.
with vegetables, but it's just the snacking part when it's not a meal and he can reach all of his snacks. So I'm thinking about hiding them too. I
Well,
don't know what else. If I pick
Yeah.
him up high,
I'm
he'll
locking
climb
them
up there
away.
and get him.
one of
I
the
don't know.
issues, one of the big issues, and then we'll come back to Sister Daniel, is we have to keep them active. And my doctor on the comments did make that thing. I think that's the issue
Hmm.
where, because if remember, even at school, they did have gym time. They
Yeah, I was
had
getting to
recess.
that.
You know what they did on gym and recess, they're very active. So I think we have to work in the activity. The doctor on the line was
Hmm.
saying her kids are waking up early and exercise. So
Mm.
there's exercise you can do. You can get up early and walk before it gets too hot. I mean, and then whatever you have in the house, you can, engage them. So we really have to. That's one I think is a big solution to that is
Mhm.
to keep the activity because
Definitely.
even over the years, all the children in my office that comes in that are somewhat overweight, and any of those who I've taken care of, will tell you, I'll tell them, keep them active. That's really the thing that you can do. And as
Mhm.
long as they're doing that, they're gonna have a better chance. So Daniel, I think you wanted to say something on that. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the same thing. I know my daughter was telling me that with Franklin Township, gym is part of their day. So when they have the gym
Curriculum, yeah.
class, they're going to be doing something. They're going to be doing something virtually with gym, whether it's doing some setups or whatever the case is. They have to do gym. So my daughter, she was complaining. She was like, "Oh, she's like, what the heck? Who's going to want to do gym at home?" And she was already complaining about gym. But I said, "Hey, it's part of the day. If you want to
Say
do
who,
virtual,
Jade?
you gotta do." Yeah, she complained. So I'm like, whatever. I said, "Jade, look." I said, either do it at home or I'll send you on a bus to school." No, but anyway, no.
Oh my goodness.
But no, I told her, on a serious note, you got to do it. I said, listen, because they're giving out grades, because last time, they're giving out grades. Last time they kind of like did little things because they didn't know what to do. It was kind of like a lot going on. But now they have
Right.
to, they have
Giving out
account
grades.
for all of it. So if you're gonna be doing, you're gonna be doing some exercise, something. Like I said, it's not gonna hurt anybody because she's not exercising either. So there's really no when it comes down to that, and she's knacking too. I don't know what she hasn't been on the scale, so I don't know, but
And,
Oh, my
and,
son is
and
obsessed with his weight. He wanted to be a certain weight so that he didn't have to use a booster seat anymore. So now,
I was
so
past
he
so
that.
wants
I
to
so
he wants to do
so
it.
so right, he wanted the weight, but I'm like, okay, now you've reached a weight where you don't need a booster seat. Maybe we should, maybe you should come exercise
Come
with
down a
mommy
little
when
bit.
she's exercising. So
Mhm.
now I'll have him do like yoga with me. We have a treadmill, so I have him on the treadmill while I'm doing like my core exercises, and I try to get him involved with me because I'm like, look, you don't want to go outside. We can still work out inside. We can still exercise.
Well, I think
You
the
got to keep him active.
activity we can, as someone was saying on the comments, we can actually make the activity kind of a family activity,
Hmm.
where you can get that in. This person was saying they do morning and evening walks, and then also they have dance parties,
Hmm. Yeah,
if they Zumba, then they do
I
outside
love
time,
Zumba.
kickball, play with the bubbles, and all of that stuff. So I think we have to start exploring that. And I think, just for the well-being of everybody, our minds, I think, and I was talking to my wife about this, we're just going to look at some areas that are opened up and just go, you're going to wear your mask, social distance, but just to
Yeah.
get out, and just
Mhm.
to do some stuff. I know a couple of the towns in the area I saw on the news last night, they actually shut down the main street with no traffic at night, block them
So
off, and
people
then
can
people
walk.
people can walk. There's some of the restaurants, then they can have the outside things and people social
That's
distance, and it actually has helped the businesses and everything. So I think we have to start thinking about things like that. As I said, as a church, we're trying to do a couple, at least on the weekends in the park. We're going to try to come up with some activities, But I think we just got to think out of the box because we're in the box. So we have to kind of
Yeah.
think, out of the box and see what things that we're going to be able to do.
What? Yeah,
Okay.
Pastor Lang, like you mentioned that it should be a family thing. One thing I have implemented that is somewhat of a family thing is that I've been trying to change my diet, and so I've
Hmm.
been trying to so it's been changing the diet of the home. Is that I've been I got rid of rice. Like I haven't gotten rid of it, but I
Yeah,
don't
but
cook rice, and I
moderation.
kudos to my sister who does the keto diet, and I've been
Hmm.
instead of making rice, been making cauliflower rice. So that's
Hmm.
just like something I've been doing, trying to implement like things to cut back on the carbs. I've been like you said, the schools have been giving me boxes of food for these kids. Like over at West Windsor, Plainsboro, they don't joke. Like they give me big boxes
Wow.
of food per
Yeah.
child.
Mhm.
Sasha K. Skyland and Zion, and he's not even in the school. But the thing is, they pack it up with a lot of pasta. So, but what I've been
Mm.
doing is just that, like, I understand the gesture, I understand what they're trying to do. They want to make sure that the kids are fed, but I have to make a conscious
Hmm.
effort not to keep making all this pasta, even though it's there and it will fill them up. And I'm tempted to a lot of times to like make the pasta because this will make them full. But I
And
also
it's
know
easy.
what,
Right.
and it's easy, but it's, not good for me. So I know it's not, I don't know how to weigh that, with the kids and the cost and stuff. But
Hmm.
I've been
Yeah,
trying to
Sure, you
change
could
my
do
diet.
it once in a while.
yeah. I
Yeah, I
mean,
may
and I
get
think
it, but
and it's
Yeah.
sometimes.
mostly moderation. And as I tell everyone, I've done that with it's a lifestyle change. And I think this is a good time because we're kind of captive
Hmm.
to, come up with some lifestyle changing plans, and
Right.
especially making sure we're putting activity as part of our, routine. We're putting in how we eat and making sure it's much more healthy. Moderation is really the key. I mean, and as my daughter will tell you, I can, even being diabetic, I can eat anything because I don't eat a lot of it one time. And it makes a big difference, and you monitor and you keep active. It's really, really important, but it's really the lifestyle thing that we should be looking at and making these changes that we can carry on. And yeah, COVID is here. The pandemic is here, but we need to look and see now. When they give you lemons, you got to make lemonade. So we have to somehow make lemonade out of this. How are we going to reinvent our family system, reinvent our daily network and workout? We just got to reinvent everything and make the best out of it, and then save how we're going to now move forward with all of this. I mean, and I think the pointers as we're coming close to the end, but we wanted to thank you all, and I want everybody just to kind of stress, have a few minutes and stress the need to continue the social distancing, to continue wearing the mask, and continue being safe. Because I think, that's one of the things as things starting to open up, is one that was a big concern. And we see, especially even in our state, that that the numbers even started to rise again because of some of the practices that people are doing. So I think we all need to stress that. So everybody going to take a couple of minutes and say, make your last comments or statements or anything that you wanted to share. So we'll start with Sister Daniel.
Well, I just think that I pray that everybody has the opportunity to be able to not go to the point where they get so stressed out that they can't take care of themselves or their families. Know that they have support systems. If they feel as though they're emotionally challenged, they can reach out to appropriate agencies or to the school systems for the help. I pray that the kids will be able to be on one accord. That we be able to sit down. The teachers will be able to teach the kids the way they need to be taught. I pray that, I hope and that the school system will continue on providing the necessary tools, such as the computers and all things that's necessary for the kids to be able to thrive. I also, hoping that kids will and parents will, like I said, take this time together to become a stronger family unit. As far as if it comes from exercising to cooking together or just taking the time out to be with one another, take this time out. If God set us down for a reason, let's take this time out to really look at and make it beneficial to us to learn what He's saying, and what can we do to be a better person to give not only to ourselves but out to all the who to be in contact with. So I'm using this time for myself, for self-development, for spiritual growth, and I also have that for my children and changing things in my own household. So I'm just looking for this particular time to really make a difference.
Okay, Sister Sharika.
Yes, I definitely agree. It's just we should just take a positive approach to this time and just remember that it's a team effort across the board. We need unity more than ever before, with parents, with teachers, with the government, and with our leaders, our church leaders, our government leaders. So we should just follow the lead and just cooperate with one another. Definitely take time out for yourself, take a time out for your children. Just always think of the next person next to you and what they're going through, and just try to get through this hard time together, and just be able to reach out, have a support system. Everyone definitely needs to have a support system.
Amen. Sister Zadia.
I agree with what both of these ladies have said, and I definitely think it's important for us to, as moms, make sure that our children know that they can come to us. I think a lot of times I've even had talk with my own son, and I told him I don't ever want him to feel like he can't tell me something that's bothering him, even if he thinks I might not understand or any of that, because in this time when they don't get to see their friends and they're stuck in at home, they might be having a lot of feelings and things that they don't know what to do with. And I think it's very important, like they both have said, that the families need to work together, and we work with our church, we work with our pastors. I'm glad that we have a great governor like Phil Murphy, who I believe, even though some people don't agree with everything he does, but I think that he's doing a great job in trying to make sure that our state is safe and that our children are safe. And I think that it's very important for us to even give our children time to go outside. Like one thing my mom is suggesting, and I'm going to try doing it some more, is taking Jay outside so that he gets used to wearing a mask and gets used to, okay, I have to wash my hands and things, because we don't know what could happen. There might be a time when he has to physically be forced to go back to school. We don't know if we'll have a vaccine by then. So I think it's important to get your kids used to what the quote unquote new normal will be for how they have to behave when they're outside of their home too.
Yeah, I think that's actually an important point, because I think we're going to be wearing masks for quite a while.
Yeah.
And even comes by the next flu season, and not this one, but the following one. I think we should be, because I think it's kind of going to be the new normal for when anytime any illnesses, anybody's sick, should actually probably have a mask on. So I think there's a one good thing to get your children just used to the idea, and also more used to the fact of sanitizing, washing hands. And by the way, I can't stress enough the washing of hands. I know all of these sanitizers and all of these things are out there, but
Soap and
soap
water.
and water is still probably one of the best things that we can all do. Because even after you sanitize, you need to wash your hand, because it picks up, it feels gooey and all that stuff. It picks things up. And I think, people got to realize that simple soap and water, washing at least 20 seconds, is going to go much further with sometimes than just doing the sanitizing. But I think as a people, I think we need to embrace what we're served up. This is what we're served up. The pandemic is here. Don't try to act as if it's not. It is here. And even as a people of God, we may not understand why, we may not, and we may have our own concerns, but hey, this is what it is. And we're going to now say, how can we make the best for our children? Yes, we're going to teach them, train them. We're going to do everything we can to protect them. And of course, some things, even when we do everything, we may not be able to, but then we pray and ask God to protect them and to lead and guide. But I think if we all bind together and come together. And I think one thing I want, especially our Premier Family Life family, but everybody in the community, to know that we're here to help. We're here to serve. And I think together we can make the big difference. And I don't want to get, you don't have to get political about it, but you got to have to realize that, we can do this together and we need to make a change. I'm also still putting out this, everybody who have not done finish your census, make sure you complete it, send it in. That's something that's important for you and every one of us. It's important for school funding, for school lunches, for all the stuff that, is provided. It's one of the important things. And, there, as much as some people trying to politicize it, there's no political question on the census. They just ask you how many people's in your house, fill it out, send it in. And that's an important thing, because I think we have to, even as the church, we are part of this community. We're part of the world. So we need to do everything that we can for everything to move forward. So we really want to just thank each and every one of you again in a special way. And we're going to just pray that all our children will be safe, that, all of those who have to go out will be protected. Those who have issues with staying home with their children, God will make a way. And then we will come together, and we're going to come out of this better than what we were. We're going to come out of it stronger, more tunely sharp. We're going to come out of it, as a fruitful people. And I think that was what we're all about. So we want you to, and somebody was saying we just have to try to cope with the situation. That's true. We have to do everything, but together we can do it. Yeah, right. And so if you know somebody, I want to reach out to everybody, anybody out there, anybody who's in need, who is struggling, reach out to our ministry. We will lead you, we'll direct you, we will help you where we can. And so just feel free to, reach out at our website, pflmi.org, and just send us a message, or you can call us. Our phone numbers are there. but we're here. Premier Family Life is here to help. And this is one reason why we're doing Turning Point, because we want to make everybody aware of what is going on and how they can, reach out. So again, we thank each of you. We ask God's blessing upon you and everybody out there that are listening. Feel free to join us also tomorrow in our service at 10 a.m. We'll be streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube, and it's going to be an awesome time. Our children put a nice program together, and they're going to worship God with you. So God bless you all. Thank you again. Have an awesome evening, and the Lord be with you. Blessings, blessings, blessings. God bless you.
Turning Point family, what an awesome time we just had. To all our first-time guests, we truly appreciate you for joining our live broadcast. We would like to hear from you, so please send us your comments, questions, or testimonies of how this program has impacted your life. Our email address is info@pflmi.org. Finally, if you feel led at any time to give to this ministry, please visit us at pflmi.org and click on the tab for donations. You can also give via Cash App at $PFLMIORG. We're looking forward to meeting with you live on next week's program. Have a blessed and prosperous weekend.